Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name's Thomas. Have you ever been in a relationship where you can just feel it's not working anymore? And you know deep down it's not going to magically fix itself, but you hang on anyway, hoping your partner will remember how things used to be and try again, or see how much you're still fighting, and finally meet you halfway. But most of the time, that never happens. And the longer we stay in that spot, the more it breaks us down, bit by bit. That's what happened to me. I didn't want to see it at first, but my marriage had been slipping for a while. I kept convincing myself that we'd bounce back like we always did. But what I didn't know was that Hannah, my wife, had already made up her mind. She wasn't just tired of trying. She was planning how to walk away with everything I had. So when I found out what was really going on, I didn't let it break me. I changed the whole direction of the story. But for you to really understand how everything went down, we've got to start from the beginning. You need to know how we got here in the first place. I met Hannah back in my college years. And like most modern relationships, it all began online. We met on Facebook. I think she commented on a post I made in a group chat, and that turned into a short reply, which turned into a private message. And before I knew it, we were talking regularly. The strange thing was, she lived far away in a different city, with hours apart. But somehow, the distance didn't bother us at the start. The conversations were effortless, and she made me laugh in a way no one else did. Eventually, we decided to give a long-distance relationship a shot. It wasn't easy. We saw each other once every 2 or 3 months, depending on what our schedules and wallets could handle. Those trips became the highlight of my life. Every visit was full of warmth and passion because we knew our time was limited. I would count down the days to see her, and when we were together, it felt like everything was right in the world. There were no distractions, just the two of us soaking in every second. We tried to make those few days last in our minds until the next visit. I was in love deeply. I didn't care about the miles between us. I just knew I wanted this to work. After I graduated from college, about a year later, I got lucky and landed a remote job at a tech company. This meant I could work from anywhere. That's when I decided to move closer to Hannah. It wasn't something she pressured me into, and honestly, I didn't need convincing. I wanted to be near her. I thought being close would make everything even better. And for a while it did. Living in the same city finally gave us the normal kind of relationship we had been chasing from a distance for years. After about a year of living near each other, we decided to get married. Her family, who are Orthodox Jewish, were very traditional, and I was honestly a bit nervous about whether I'd be accepted. But to my surprise, they welcomed me with open arms. They gave us their full support, and it meant a lot to me that they approved of our relationship. Our wedding was small and intimate, just close family and friends. But I didn't care about the size or the venue. What mattered to me was that I was marrying the woman I loved. That day, we became officially husband and wife. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. But life has a way of changing things, and not always in the ways you expect. After we got married, things felt normal for a while. About 2 years in, I got a job offer from a tech company based in San Francisco. It wasn't as remote as my previous job, but the pay was significantly better. It felt like the kind of opportunity you don't just turn down, especially with the way inflation and living costs kept going up. Hannah and I talked about it, and she agreed that moving made sense. So we packed up and relocated to a quieter suburb not far from the city. It was a big change, but at the time, we were both on board. Once we got settled in, Hannah found a position as a middle school teacher at a local school. It was a steady job, and she seemed okay with it. She adjusted quickly and built a routine. I could tell she was trying to settle into this new chapter, just like I was. As for me, the new job came with a ton of pressure. It was one of those roles where the paycheck is great, but the work-life balance is basically non-existent. I was spending long hours at the office, staying late to meet deadlines, attending back-to-back meetings, and even when I came home, I still had work waiting for me on my laptop. I didn't love that part, but I kept reminding myself that this was all temporary. That if we could just push through this phase, we'd be more financially secure. But this move slowly changed something in my marriage. Hannah used to stay up late, waiting for me to come home so we could eat together or at least talk about our day. But that stopped. I'd walk in past 9, sometimes 10, and the house would be quiet. I'd find her already in bed, usually asleep. Then our conversation started to change, too. I used to ask her about her day, and she'd go on, telling me about a funny thing a student said or something one of her coworkers did at school. But lately, when I asked, she'd just say things like, "It was fine," or "same old," and then change the subject. I didn't push. She might not feel like talking, and I didn't want to read too much into it. What I did notice, though, was that she started going out more when she's not at work. I'd come back home and notice things had moved around, or she'd leave a note saying she went out. I assumed she was spending more time with her friends, trying to stay social, since I wasn't around much. I never thought to question it. Honestly, I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. And to be fair, I wasn't exactly home all the time either. But things kept shifting. The biggest red flag came when she started acting weird with her phone. She used to leave it lying around like it was no big deal, but now it was always face down. She'd take it with her everywhere, which she never used to do. If I asked who she was texting, she'd tense up or give a vague answer like just a friend. If I pushed further, she'd snap back and accuse me of not trusting her. Those moments left me confused and unsure whether I was overreacting or actually sensing something. While all these were going on, our emotional connection started to fade. We weren't really touching anymore, not hugging like we used to. But I convinced myself that if I didn't make a big deal out of it, the phase would pass. I didn't want to drag her family into it. I believed that married couples should sometimes work through their stuff on their own. But I was wrong. One evening, I'd wrapped up my meetings a little earlier than expected and decided to head home to continue working instead of hanging back at the office. I thought it'd be a nice surprise, maybe catch Hannah in a good mood and even share a late lunch or just sit down for a bit together before I dived back into work. The house was quiet when I got there, so I came in like I always do, calm and quiet. As I stepped further in, I heard laughter coming from the living room. It was Hannah's voice. Curious, I slowed my steps. She was talking to someone in person. It was hard to tell at first. But then I recognized the second voice. It was her best friend. They were sharing a moment, completely unaware that I was just a few steps away. That's when I heard Hannah, in a joking tone, describe her divorce speech. He'll cry, then grovel, then still sign the papers. They both laughed. Then she added, "He's soft," and that has gradually dried up my feelings for him. In that moment, I didn't know what to do. I stood there frozen, halfway down the hallway. It didn't make sense to me that the woman I married was planning her exit like it was a game. I ended up not walking into the room. I turned around, slowly, and walked straight to my study. I closed the door, sat down at my desk, and stared at my laptop screen for a long time. I tried to focus on work, but it wasn't possible. That night, I didn't sleep. I had been trying so hard to hold things together, thinking the silence between us was just a phase, something we could work through. But now I knew. She had already left me in her mind. The only thing left was the paperwork. So I made a decision. If she was going to end this, I wouldn't let her control the story. I had to protect myself, emotionally, legally, financially. I couldn't afford to wait around, hoping for change that would never come. I had to act first. The next day, I decided to reach out to a lawyer I'd met when I moved to San Francisco. I'd kept his contact information for emergencies, though I never thought I'd be needing it like this. I sat down with him the next day, telling him everything. How I overheard Hannah planning the divorce with her best friend. How she's been emotionally pulling away for months. And how I was starting to get the feeling that she was already checked out of our marriage. I wanted his advice on what to do next, how to protect myself from the mess she was about to drag me into. The lawyer's first words were, "File first." He wasn't telling me this to be cruel, but because he knew the system. Divorce isn't a fair fight, especially when one side is already ahead, and it's easy for someone to manipulate the situation in their favor if they get to it first. You need to take control of this, he told me. A lot of men think they're doing the noble thing by waiting, but all that does is leave you open for manipulation. Protect yourself. He then told me something that stuck with me. Choose the jurisdiction that's favorable to you. It took me a moment to understand what he meant, but once I did, it made sense. The legal landscape isn't the same everywhere, and where you file for divorce can make a huge difference in how things play out. Some areas are known to be more favorable to men when it comes to dividing assets and custody. This would give me more time to figure out my next steps and protect my financial interests. The last thing I wanted was for her to walk away with everything. So I told the lawyer to do whatever he could to file the divorce papers as soon as possible. But I didn't want it to be obvious. When the papers were ready, I told the lawyer to have the papers served at the school during a potluck. On the day we planned to do this, I waited. I knew the papers would be served that afternoon. My phone buzzed just after, and the lawyer confirmed that it was done. But the part one hadn't anticipated was the reaction. According to the lawyer, Hannah had stormed out of the room when she got the papers. After Hannah received the divorce papers, it didn't take long for her to reach out. The phone rang almost immediately. I saw it, but I didn't pick up. I just let it ring out. The texts followed shortly after. One, then another, then a third, all asking the same thing. What are you doing? I didn't respond. I knew exactly that she was playing the role of the victim. But this time, I wasn't playing along. When I finally got home that evening, I could feel the tension the second I stepped through the door. She was standing in the living room, her arms crossed, her face a mix of confusion and frustration. Without skipping a beat, she asked, "Are you divorcing me?" She said it like she couldn't believe it, like she was caught off guard. And I couldn't help but think, how can you act surprised when you've been planning this for who knows how long? But I didn't say that out loud. I told her, "You wanted this. You've made it clear for a while now. Just sign the papers." She acted like I'd slapped her in the face. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought she was finally going to own up to everything she'd been doing. But no, she didn't. Instead, she asked, how, as if she had no idea what I was talking about. I couldn't believe it. Was she really going to pretend like this was all some big misunderstanding? I wasn't buying it. I took a breath before I spoke again. "You told your friend everything. You laughed about how I'd beg for you to stay. You said I'd cry, grovel, and sign anything you put in front of me. You even said how your feelings for me had dried up." For a second, she didn't know how to respond. Then she asked, almost desperate, "Did my friend tell you this? Did she come to you with this lie?" I didn't give her the chance to deflect it onto someone else. "No," I said flatly. "I heard it myself. You were talking about it that evening." Her face went pale. But instead of owning up to it, she tried to play it off. "It was just a joke," she said quickly, like she was brushing the whole thing away. "I didn't mean it like that." I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not this time. "It's fine," I told her, even though I wasn't fine. Not by a long shot. "Go ahead and accept the divorce. It's what you wanted anyway." But she refused. She begged me. "Please," she said, "I don't want to be like this." But I knew better than to fall for it. I could see right through it. I didn't want to be the guy who kept trying to make something work when it was clear she'd already given up. Our marriage had been dead for a long time, and I had finally accepted it. The days after I served her the divorce papers were some of the most draining days of my life. Hannah didn't take it well. At first, she just ignored the papers. She didn't sign them for several days. She was trying to see if I'd change my mind. But as the days dragged on, she realized it wasn't that simple. Eventually, she took the case to court. I don't even know if I was surprised by that. It was coming. She accused me of emotional neglect, like I'd been neglecting her for years because of my work. It was the kind of accusation that stung because I had tried so hard to keep things together. But she wasn't done. She also accused me of having multiple affairs. This was something that completely threw me off guard. The truth didn't matter anymore. It was all about who could create the most believable narrative. And right then, it felt like I was losing. The whole court process was slow, frustrating, and draining in a way I can't even fully describe. Time dragged on. Every hearing felt like it stretched into eternity. And with every day that passed, the case seemed to tilt more and more in her favor. Her lawyer painted me as the emotionally absent husband who cared more about his job than his wife. They presented a convincing picture. Meanwhile, I was doing everything I could to keep my head above water. The legal fees were piling up, and with every delay, it was becoming harder to keep hope that I'd come out of this in one piece, let alone protect what was mine. Then, one day, my lawyer came up with a new strategy. He suggested hiring a private investigator. He thought we needed to find concrete evidence to counter her accusations, something that would prove she was more involved in the breakdown of our marriage than she let on. At first, I wasn't sure. I was already exhausted by the constant back and forth and the growing tension. But after thinking about it, I realized that if this was really the end, I needed to protect myself. I agreed. The investigator was hired, and I just had to hope they would uncover something that could tip the scale in my favor. The results of the investigation shocked me. The private investigator dug into Hannah's past, especially her time during our long-distance relationship, and what they uncovered was nothing short of eye-opening. It turned out that, during the time when we were apart, she had been in contact with another guy, someone I had no idea existed, and they had a romantic connection. What really stung was the timing. This guy had recently moved to San Francisco about a year ago. Right around that time, I noticed Hannah pulling away from me. The investigator confirmed they had reconnected after moving to the city. So, all that time, while I was under the impression she was just caught up in her own world, she had been rekindling something with him. The truth hit me hard. It made sense now why she'd been so distant. She hadn't been emotionally checked out because of me. She had been checked out because she was involved with someone else. Armed with this information, my lawyer and I worked on building our case around her infidelity. We weren't going to let her paint me as the villain without exposing the truth. With the investigator's findings, we had a solid argument for why the marriage was falling apart. And when the case finally ended, the results weren't what Hannah was expecting. The judge saw through her accusations. Instead of getting the big payout she was hoping for, she walked away with far less than she thought she deserved. The whole process left me emotionally drained. I had to watch my whole life unravel piece by piece, and even though the divorce was granted, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like the end of something I had tried so desperately to fix. But I guess that's the thing with divorce. People expect you to feel relief when it's over, but what they don't tell you is that it's messy, it's painful, and it leaves scars. The courtroom drama, the accusations, the endless delays. All of it just felt like a slow-motion crash. I'm glad it's over now, but I can't say I came out of it unscathed. Sure, the legal battle ended, and I didn't lose everything. But the emotional toll? That's something I'll be dealing with for a while. But here's the question I have for you. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have fought back, or would you have let it go? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more about what happened next. So, now I want to ask you something. If you found out your partner was already planning to leave, had already made up their mind, would you just sit there and wait for them to pull the trigger? Or would you take control and end it yourself before they could do it to you? Think about it. It's not easy. A lot of us don't want to be the one who makes the first move because it feels like giving up. But sometimes, when someone else is already emotionally checked out, staying around only drags things out longer, and honestly, it just makes it hurt worse. So what would you do? Would you stand there hoping they'll come around? Or would you say enough is enough and take action like I did? I know what I did, but I want to know what you would do. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found something in this story that resonated with you, or maybe it gave you some clarity, do me a favor. Hit that like button and share this video. You never know who might need to hear it. Maybe someone else out there is going through something similar, and this could help them take a step forward. Anyway, I'm genuinely curious to hear what you think. So go ahead, drop a comment, and let's keep this conversation going.